Welcome to our 2023 exhibition, Continual Craft, here on view at 150 North Street in the heart of Boston in the North End through August 12th. For this year's exhibition, we asked our students and alumni to share with us the ways they address sustainability in their practice. Successes, failures, opportunities, anything and everything. What we found were a few themes across the board that tell the story of how crafts and tradespeople contribute to a lighter footprint in our world. And we start with this theme of generational goods. We're not using material for immediate satisfaction and one-time use. We are learning and teaching to make and repair objects that will last 1,000 years, such as this solid white oak hand-carved heirloom blanket chest, which I encourage you to come see in person. You can open it up. And this 5-string banjo made in a community education banjo workshop a few years back. Instruments just to me embody a generational good, so that's why we have this in here. Another theme we found across the board is considerate use of materials. This is a great example of sort of a bookbinder's missteps turned into a beautiful design plan. This bookbinder was working on this, it's a rebind of an existing text block, and had some errors in the outer green binding, maybe paired it too thin, had a few holes in there. And so Mimi applied her lessons learned in her bookbinding program to fill the holes with various materials, and then used scrap leather sourced from her classmates and in the bindery here to turn it into this beautiful design and hide those flaws. So it's just a great example of considerate use of materials. And over here, another theme we explored is restoring the world around us. How far does a preservation carpenter go to save an existing structure? This is what this answers. A 1725 home scheduled for demolition in Hanover, Mass. was sort of scooped up by our preservation carpentry class, who went to this site and to avoid it being demolished, dismantled the home piece by piece to be rebuilt at a later date, possibly, hopefully. In that process, one of our students, A. Chard, found these boards being used as floorboards, and using their base of knowledge from their program, identified all of these clues that made them realize that these were not originally meant as floorboards. They had an original purpose in the 1725 structure. When you come to see this exhibition, you'll see all of the clues that they sorted out to get to this place. A specific color paint or a type of paint, specific nail holes, hinge marks. All of these clues led A to realize that this was originally a corner cabinet from the 1725 construction of this home. And so in collaboration for this exhibition, A drew this drawing of what this would originally be to scale, and created this scale model of the corner cabinet, which we discovered was originally used as a cabinet for fine china for fine guests, sort of, kind of, that kind of thing. So this is one of my favorite areas in the exhibition, this, starting with this little jewel of a binding here. This is a binding by Sarah Pines, a recent graduate. Sarah sourced the text of the salmon population data of New England rivers and bound it in fish skin that she sourced from our local sushi restaurant here in the North End. It's such a sweet little number, and you have to come and see it. And within the same theme of sort of this organic material, we have these bone folders by Ariana Rutledge. Bone folders are just it's a very iconic tool in the bookbinders, at the bookbinder's bench. It's used for creasing and folding, and they learned to make them in this program here. So Ariana Rutledge, a graduate, was hiking through the Oregon woods and came across the remnants of a hunted animal and scooped up all of the antlers and bones and brought them here to school, and is fashioning her own custom bone folders out of them, and so she shared them for this exhibition. They're very cool. Next to that is this other sweet little, very organic binding. This piece is made without any adhesives, and it's made with all scraps. The lack of adhesive means that it can be sort of eternally repaired, and as well as it can ebb and flow with humidity changes and climate changes. So it speaks directly to our theme of sustainability. During research for this exhibition, I came across the work of Stephen Gonzalez Monserrate, an anthropologist of cloud storage technology. Stephen came to speak with us for our In the Making series, which you can find online. He came to speak with our bookbinding students about books versus their digital counterparts. And it was such a fascinating conversation. And a few of our bookbinders who were just graduated just ran with that idea and created these really sweet bindings that touch on sort of that obsolescence of digital data. And so one of them here that you can come and read all about this binding is a physical binding of a lost language. And then this really cool piece, which is an index of memes, an analog index of memes, just really grabbed onto the idea. Over here, we're looking at our violin making and repair program. We were given this beautiful concept about how a violin maker at this level, at this skill set, could sustain their entire career off of a couple of trees. They used a few varieties, 3, but they could sustain their entire career off of one tree of each of those varieties, planting seedlings for future generations and harvesting only what they need. They sustain the biodiversity of the forest that they rely on for this type of maple and spruce, as opposed to more mass-produced instruments, which very likely could be made from clear-cut lumber. And the story, this beautiful story and idea, was so visual that we sourced 4 Massachusetts College of Art and Design animation students to create this short animation. It's something we've never done in our exhibitions, and it's really sweet, and it tells you the story of one tree per luthier. So encourage you to come and watch this. It's a very cool moment. Over here in this section of the exhibition, you're going to see a lot of our furniture made by our cabinet and furniture making community. Right here specifically, we're looking at these beautiful case pieces and also this beautiful workbench made by a recent graduate. And what you're seeing in these furniture pieces are touching back to the earlier theme of creating generational goods, longevity of goods. And so our cabinet and furniture making students are learning this joinery technique, dovetailed joinery, mortise and tenon, to create these pieces that will last generations. And so you'll see in this exhibition, you'll see this beautiful tambour chest, which is so special, by Benjamin Cotis. This centerpiece, which, center meaning on this bench in the middle of these, this piece also speaks to the theme of considerate use of materials. This graduate made this case piece entirely out of scrap. And so you can imagine the skill, the experience, just the time it took her to map out how to evenly and in a balanced and successful way use scrap material to make this case. It's just beautiful. And so you'll see a lot of other furniture pieces in this exhibition that touch on those themes of generational goods, longevity of goods. And then back here in this carpentry corner, we're looking at energy efficiency and energy requirements. So shockingly, energy efficiency was not specified in building code until 1965. That doesn't mean that folks weren't using whatever material they could to insulate their homes. They had to. We live in New England. But this is just this great demonstration of various materials used in the last 100+ years in insulating homes, along with the various wall materials that were used alongside that insulation. So these are just these very cool panels with information on the material used. And Also part of this demonstration is this wall structure that gives us a 360 view of different techniques used in energy capture in construction, in building. And it's so fascinating, things that, you know, I learned through this process about energy loss, where the studs hit the wall, and that's why they build these double thick walls. And what this most exemplifies to me is sort of the constant learning that a carpenter or builder has to navigate through, because energy usage and efficiency is one of those things that's constantly changing in building code. And so our carpentry students and instructors and people in the field are constantly having to update their codes and constantly learning what is the next innovative method in building. And from here, we're going to walk through this section where you'll see other furniture pieces that really speak to our earlier themes of generational goods, longevity of goods. You'll see a lot of the joinery that we were talking about, dovetail, mortise, and tenon. And as you walk through here, you'll see this unusual and beautiful piece that's made entirely from scrap. And you can see, you can identify the time and planning it took to use that material in a considerate way to create this really intricate pattern and design. And fittingly, we will end this tour with the piece that sparked the entire exhibition. Last summer, we were contacted by a regional demolition company, Select Demolition, with this flooring that they had been in the middle of, they were demolishing the former Celtics practice space in Waltham, and didn't want to throw away this iconic flooring that Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Celtics champions practiced on. And so they contacted trade schools around the region. Would you like this? Can we donate it? Let's do something with it. And we said absolutely. So I reached out to Sandy Weymouth, a cabinet furniture making graduate from years prior, who I know had this beautiful design eye and the capability and skills to totally transform this into something completely different. And so with all hands on deck, we dismantled this flooring from its subfloor, pulled thousands of staples out, jointed, sanded, milled, glued, stacked, anything you could imagine, to transform it into this beautiful dining table. To me, this best represents how skill, passion, labor, and effort can completely transform this landfill-bound material into well-made, beautiful, and functional furniture. And this piece you can enter to win. We'll raffle it off towards the end of the summer. It's free to enter, and it could be yours. And that is our 2023 exhibition, Continual Craft, up on view through August 12th, and we hope to see you soon.